The snow fell like broken promises that December night, each flake a reminder of dreams that had shattered just 18 months ago. When cancer stole his wife away, Marcus Chen pressed his forehead against the cold window of his small apartment, watching the blizzard transform Chicago into a white wasteland. His 7-year-old daughter Emma slept peacefully in the next room, unaware that her father had been surviving on 3 hours of sleep and instant coffee for weeks, juggling 2 jobs just to keep their heads above water. "Daddy, can't sleep." Emma's small voice drifted from the hallway. Marcus turned to see her clutching the worn teddy bear that had been her mother's final gift, her dark eyes wide with the kind of innocent worry that broke his heart daily. "Come here, sweetheart," Marcus whispered, scooping her into his arms. Through the window, they watched the storm rage, and that's when they saw her, a figure stumbling through the snow. No coat, no hat, just a thin business suit that offered no protection against nature's fury. "She's gonna freeze, Daddy," Emma said, her breath fogging the glass. Marcus watched the woman collapse against a lamppost, her body shaking violently. Every rational thought screamed at him to call 911 and stay safe in his apartment. He was a single father with barely enough money for groceries, working as a night janitor at an office building and delivering food during the day. He couldn't afford to get involved in someone else's crisis. But then Emma tugged his sleeve. "Mommy always said we help people who need help." Those words hit Marcus like a physical blow. His wife Sarah had lived by that philosophy, volunteering at homeless shelters even when her own strength was failing. She'd taught Emma to see the good in everyone, to offer help without expecting anything in return. How could he honor her memory? By turning away from someone in need. "Stay here, baby. Lock the door behind me," Marcus said, grabbing his heaviest coat and Sarah's old winter jacket. He kissed Emma's forehead and rushed into the storm. The cold hit him like a wall, stealing his breath and stinging his eyes. The woman was barely conscious when he reached her. Her lips blue, her business attire soaked through. She was probably in her 30s, Asian American, with shoulder-length black hair matted with snow and ice. "Mom, can you hear me?" Marcus shouted over the wind. She looked up at him with glassy eyes, mumbling something incoherent. Her designer heels were completely inappropriate for the weather, and her hands were turning an alarming shade of purple. Marcus didn't hesitate. He wrapped Sarah's coat around the stranger and half-carried, half-dragged her to his building. The elevator was broken. It had been for 3 months, so he managed to get her up 2 flights of stairs to his apartment, where Emma was waiting with towels and the space heater they used to supplement their inadequate heating. "Is she okay, Daddy?" Emma asked, her eyes wide with concern. "She will be," Marcus said, hoping he was right. He helped the woman to the couch, wrapping her in every blanket they owned. "What's your name? Do you have somewhere to go?" The woman's teeth chattered so violently she could barely speak. I don't. My car broke down. Phone died. I was walking to find help and got lost in the storm." Marcus made hot tea with shaking hands, his own coat still dripping puddles on the linoleum floor. He glanced at their nearly empty refrigerator, calculating how much food they had left until his next paycheck. They were already stretching every dollar, eating mac and cheese for dinner most nights. But looking at this woman, this stranger who could have died in the storm, he knew there was no choice to make. "You're staying here tonight," Marcus said firmly. "The storm's supposed to last until morning. I'll take the chair. You can have the couch." "I couldn't possibly impose," she began. "You're not imposing. You're coming with me to the kitchen, and we're going to get some warm food in you." The woman, who introduced herself as Diana, watched in amazement as Marcus and Emma worked together to prepare dinner. Emma chattered about her school day while Marcus heated soup and made grilled cheese sandwiches, the routine so natural and loving that Diana felt tears prick her eyes. "Daddy makes the best grilled cheese," Emma announced proudly. "He cuts off the crusts just how I like them." Marcus smiled, ruffling his daughter's hair. "That's because you're my sous chef. You picked out the cheese at the store, remember?" Diana couldn't remember the last time she'd witnessed such simple, genuine happiness. Her own life had been consumed by board meetings, quarterly reports, and the relentless pursuit of profit margins. She was the CEO of a major tech company, worth millions on paper, but sitting in this tiny apartment with its mismatched furniture and cheerful yellow walls, she felt poorer than she ever had. "What do you do for work?" Diana asked Marcus as they ate. "I'm a janitor at Morrison Industries downtown, and I deliver food during the day," Marcus said without shame. "It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and lets me be home with Emma most evenings." Diana nearly choked on her soup. Morrison Industries was one of her company's biggest clients. She'd been in that building dozens of times for meetings, walking past janitors without ever really seeing them as people with families and struggles and dreams. "That's honest work," she said quietly. "Your daughter is lucky to have such a dedicated father." Marcus's expression softened. "She's everything to me. Her mother passed away last year, and it's been just us against the world since then. Some days are harder than others, but Emma keeps me going." That night, as Diana lay on the couch, listening to Marcus read Emma a bedtime story in the next room, she made a decision that would change everything. His gentle voice, the way he did different voices for all the characters, the patience he showed when Emma asked him to read the same page twice. It reminded her why she'd started her company in the first place. She'd wanted to create something meaningful, to help people, to make a difference. Somewhere along the way, she'd lost sight of that mission. The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving behind a world transformed by pristine white snow. Diana insisted on helping Marcus shovel the sidewalk in front of his building, much to the amusement of the other tenants who'd never seen their usually stressed neighbor working alongside a woman in a borrowed coat and sneakers. "I should call a cab," Diana said as they finished. "I've imposed on your kindness long enough." "It wasn't an imposition," Marcus said, and Emma nodded vigorously in agreement. "Can Diana come back and visit?" Emma asked. "She promised to teach me how to make paper airplanes." Diana knelt down to Emma's level. "I'd love that, sweetheart. But first, I need to ask your dad something important." She turned to Marcus, her expression serious. "You said you work at Morrison Industries. What shift?" "Nights, usually 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. "Why?" Diana took a deep breath. "Marcus, I need to tell you something. I'm not just some random person who got caught in a storm. I'm Diana Liu, and I'm the CEO of Techflow Solutions. We're Morrison Industries' biggest client, and I've been in that building more times than I can count. I've probably walked past you dozens of times without ever really seeing you." Marcus stared at her, processing this information. You're a CEO?" "I am. And meeting you and Emma has opened my eyes to something I'd lost sight of. You showed me more genuine kindness in one night than I've experienced in years of boardroom meetings and networking events. You didn't help me because you thought I could do something for you in return. You helped me because it was the right thing to do." Emma tugged on Diana's sleeve. "Does that mean you're really rich?" Diana laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in months. "I suppose it does, sweetheart, and I'd like to use some of that money to help people like your daddy, people who work hard and deserve better." Over the following weeks, Diana became a regular fixture in Marcus and Emma's lives. She kept her promise to teach Emma paper airplane folding, helped with homework, and gradually revealed her plans to Marcus. She was starting a foundation focused on supporting working families, providing scholarships for children, and creating better working conditions for service industry employees. "I want you to be the director," Diana told Marcus one evening as they watched Emma play in the small park near his apartment. "You understand these struggles in a way I never will. You have the heart for this work." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "I'm not qualified for something like that. I'm just a janitor." "You're a man who saw a stranger in need and brought her home to safety, without thinking twice about it. You're a father who works 2 jobs to give his daughter a good life. You're someone who treats everyone with dignity and respect. That's the only qualification that matters." The foundation launched 6 months later, with Marcus as its director and Diana as its primary funding source. Their first initiative was a program providing emergency housing assistance for families in crisis. Their second was a scholarship fund for children of service industry workers. Their third was a partnership with major corporations to improve working conditions and wages for custodial and maintenance staff. But perhaps the most significant change was in Diana herself. She moved out of her sterile downtown penthouse and into a modest home in Marcus and Emma's neighborhood. She learned to cook from YouTube videos, started volunteering at Emma's school, and discovered that the greatest wealth wasn't in her bank account, but in the relationships she'd built. 1 year after that snowy night, Diana stood in the same spot